What's up, guys? Coach Jason. I got a little cold, so I'm sitting at the kitchen table, comfy, with my Scully on. I got my dad robe. I just had a daughter 4 months ago, so I'm sporting it with pride. So I got a little cold, so bear with me with my nasal sounds or whatever. All right. So, but I want to talk about like substance abuse in sports, particularly in MMA and a little bit in boxing. As a former amateur boxer myself, I know what it's like to be in there. Spent more of my time coaching than I had fighting, but I've been around the sport, both sports, and its different facets, from submission grappling and then amateur boxing, like I said. And the amateurs, they don't test for performance enhancing drugs like that. But I do know some pros. My business partner, Nicole Zilla Clark, is a pro, so I know they do testing and things like that. But it seems like, at the higher levels, you hear a lot about people failing tests and, having all these dangerous things, being, caught in their blood systems and things like that. The latest in MMA is John Jones failing the test for a previous substance from a previous test. So they moved UFC 232 from Las Vegas to California because the commission that he had previously failed it under was in California. So they were able to use the same information to be able to still sanction the fight, to say that he still had his system from 2 years ago. But I think that's something that the sport as a whole needs to address, because it's a dangerous thing to have people, having all these designer drugs. We don't consider that, the damage that can be played on a person. We're not talking about a sport where you're just hitting a ball or putting a ball through a hoop or throwing a ball to another individual and maybe taking one or two hits. In a contest of fighting, combat sports, you are hitting, kicking, punching, slamming, all kinds of ways to get hurt on a consistent basis. So these things can happen repeatedly. It's like getting into a car accident over and over and over. And I think, we have to have a point where we get to zero tolerance with athletes in a sport like that, or have a list of approved substances that a person can take. I know me personally, and the people that I know, the most that any one of them take would be a protein shake. And a lot of what you see in stores like GNC will not have any regulations associated with the manufacturers who make them. So there can be contaminated substances. And if you get deeper into the rabbit hole of these manufacturers, making them overseas, that have different, jurisdictions on what can be added to your substances, it can be various things added to these, protein shakes and all these other different, things. I don't even know. I don't even take them, so I'm not even aware. But I can imagine walking into a GNC, which I have done for just basic vitamins and things like that, and what could be, all these unregulated things that are on the shelves. And, guys would make, combine all these things. They could take 10 different things, and they would not know that these substances would be in there. So it'd be fair to say that some of these guys might be failing tests and not even know why, because they think that everything they're buying legally over the counter is going to be safe for them, because it didn't come from an illegal source, some shady guy in a back room. It came off the shelf. Now, that's not to say that some of them aren't still doing that, because I think that happens as well. But I think that has to also be considered. And I think as a responsible organization like the UFC or a sanctioning body or a promoter, you want to make sure that every athlete is going to be as clean as possible, so you can have people on staff that can look through the approved amounts, the approved products that can be used by an athlete. It would help alleviate some of the issues, because if anybody fails something, you could either narrow it down to what they use from the approved level, or they would just, straight up be banned and you know, they you know that they did something wrong. And I think that's where the VADA and USADA come into play and have to really be a lot stricter on what athletes can use. I think it's safer for the sport. It's better for the business side of the sport, because then you don't have people dropping out of fights for banned substances and having controversies like UFC 232. It just makes it harder for, you know, fans to get behind, and it does a lot for the other athletes on the card who have to think about their own safety. It's already, you know, an unsafe thing to fight in the first place. You want it to be as fair as possible, you know. So that's my thought on it. Just wanted to make a quick video about it. Let me know your thoughts. Let's share ideas, subscribe, and hit you back on the next one. Peace.